We're down here in the office, apothecary, and we are going to process some evergreens. So let's talk about evergreen medicine and evergreen food for just a moment. And you may not have known this, but the evergreens are edible and they're highly nutritious, and they're also very medicinal and have wonderful properties for us. Let's talk about some of the different kinds first. So we have your typical pine tree. Okay, we have spruce and fir, and we've got some cedar, also evergreens, and a lot of different categories. We've got hemlock, we've got, I think I mentioned fir and spruce. So these trees primarily come from a very large family of plants called Pinaceae. All right, most of these fit into that family of plants. There's one exception I have here, and this is Western red cedar, which I did a video on how to make a hydrosol a couple of years ago that you might be interested in. It is actually a member of the Cupressaceae family, and that is another category of evergreens, also with similar properties to the pines and Pinaceae family. So let's talk about that family for a minute. We'll just set aside the Cupressaceae family, the Western red cedar, and focus on the fir, the spruce, the pine, these wonderful evergreens which fall into the Pinaceae family. So there are over 220 species of pine. They all fall under 11 different genera, or genus is the singular term, and they're wonderful, all of them. So no matter where you live, you have pine at your disposal. I guarantee it, because the pine trees grow from as far down south into the southern hemisphere, and even in desert areas, all the way up into Alaska and the boreal forests. So pine trees are literally everywhere at your fingertips. And isn't that amazing? So let's talk about some of the actions that pine trees and evergreens in general have. Some of the actions: antimicrobial, which means it's really wonderful for wounds and first aid. It modulates inflammation in the body, so you can take it as a tincture, and it just helps if you've got inflammatory responses that are maybe too low or too high. They just balance. It's a nutritive plant. It's very, very high in vitamin C, which, as you know, is a wonderful way to boost your immune system. It's a diaphoretic. These are warming and drying herbs. So basically, if you have a fever and you want to warm up the internal heat of your body to speed up that fever response, pines can be really helpful for that. Pines are also expectorating, and that means that they help you with mucus in your lungs, and they help you when you have a cough. They're also helpful for congestion. In fact, pines just support the respiratory system in general. There's a chemical family, apinene and bupinene, in the monoterpene chemical family that are found heavily in pines and evergreens in general, and that's a wonderfully supportive group of chemicals for your lungs, which is really amazing. I just love this. So the ways you can prepare pine are: you can tincture it, you can put it in vinegars, you can make oxymels, which is a combination of vinegar and honey. You can infuse the resin in oil. You can also infuse the leaves in oil, and the twigs, the little small branches that the leaves grow on, because they contain resin too. And the resin's really helpful for the skin. Let's see, you can chop them up and use them in herbal salts and into spices and things like this. So there's a lot of different ways you can prepare pine too. So it's really just excellent. It's just an excellent plant to get to know. So we've talked about the common medicinal uses of pine in terms of the respiratory system and healing the skin. It's really great for skin infections as well, and also being a very nutritious plant. But there's a couple of other things that pine is excellent for. One of those is for forest bathing. So forest bathing, which I talked about in a recent video, I became interested in this because basically have known about it for a long time, and plus we live in a forest. But I know I just feel better when I get out into nature and into the forest, specifically into and among the large pine trees. And there's chemical reasons for that. So watch that video on forest bathing if you're interested in that. Forest bathing is a wonderful way to enjoy the pines. And I want to just talk about scent masking. So not everybody hunts for their own food and meat, but my husband does. And scent masking is a practice that's been going on for literally centuries. You can mask your body odors and things with pine. So that's just another thought on the uses of pine. So that's one that's not really usually mentioned, but I just wanted to throw that one out there. Let's talk about contraindications really quick in case you're going to dive into using pine. So there's not very many, to be honest. There's just not. There is a specific pine tree, the ponderosa pine, where cattle who've eaten huge amounts of the needles have aborted their calves. So most herbalists will tell you that although pine is generally very, very safe, avoid ponderosa pine if you're pregnant. Okay, so that's just one that you want to be aware of. And then the other contraindication that I can think of is resins. Sometimes the resins, which are very sticky, can be irritating if you have really sensitive skin. They're not irritating to me, and most people. I really haven't had too many people tell me that it makes them itchy or scratchy. So just be aware that you might have a little reaction. So do a little patch test if you're concerned. But otherwise, that's it. Pine is extremely safe and very, very wonderful, or the evergreens in general are. So now we're going to go ahead and I'm going to chop up, I'm just basically making a mixed tincture of the pine, the firs, the spruce, and the red cedar. And that's just going to give me a really well-balanced tincture that we're going to work with however we want to. All right. This tincture actually may be available in the shop later on. Okay, so here we go. Basically, you just want to grab a large jar and just start chopping, basically. So I got my scissors here, and I am just gonna chop them up right into the jar. And if you are making hydrosol, if you wanna look at how I make that in that other video, you can do, this is the same process. You just chop up the plant. Ow, my earring was hitting me there. And there you go. I love the smell of pine. It smells so good. The evergreens have a number of different scent profiles, from lemony to piney, obviously, kind of a turpentine scent, to sweet, to spicy. There's a number of different flavor and scent profiles that the pines have. So if you do live near a pine forest, get out there and you know, explore, and just don't be afraid to taste the pines and have a lot of fun with it. You can use these in teas and decoctions too. So in fact, I should do a pine herbal salt for you guys so you can see that. I'm going to move on to a cedar over here. This is one of the most fun things about my job, getting to play with my plants. So I just love this. A pleasure doing this video for you today. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and continue on here. Okay, so now I've got a gallon jar and it is filled with bits of different conifer trees. And oh, lovely. Isn't that just gorgeous? I could probably pack a little bit more in there, and I probably will go ahead and do that. But I'm going to go ahead and start pouring my alcohol. So I'm using 151 proof alcohol for this tincture. And the reason I'm using 151, because usually 80 proof is fine for most plants. But when you're dealing with resins, the higher proof alcohol is actually better because it dissolves the resin much easier and more quickly. So therefore, We are going to go through a few bottles of 151. That's 2 liters right there. There we go. This was already opened up, so. Alrighty, and as we get our physical products shop up and going, which is gracegardenapothecary.com, we're going through a lot of alcohol. And it's been a lot of fun getting everything together. My website is healingharvesthomestead.com if you are interested in that, and I would love for you to subscribe and share this video if you found it interesting, and make a comment if you have questions, comments, or anything else. I love comments, and if you want to let me know what kinds of topics you would like to learn about in my YouTube videos on my channel, I would love to know that too. I do a lot of things, and I'm very curious about what you guys want, and I can share that herbally with you. But look at this. Let me just kind of spread this apart here. Isn't this just gorgeous? Look at that. Beautiful. So I'm going to go ahead and shake this up, and I'm going to go ahead and set this aside, and in 4 to 6 weeks I will be straining it off and bottling it up and selling this beautiful evergreen tincture. All right, I'm Heidi Villegas with Healing Harvest Homestead. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to watch the forest bathing video. If there's one thing you can do for your health and wellness, it's to get some of these beautiful evergreen chemicals into your body. You know, God gave us these beautiful gifts for us to use. It's just a matter of learning how to use them. One other thing I want to mention very quickly before we sign off, and that is herb storage, because I know I'm going to get some questions about this. So some of you might be wondering about the light in here in my apothecary area, because if you're an herbalist, you know that you need to store your herbs in a dark place, dark, cool, dry environment, right? So you want to avoid the enemies of herbs, which are heat and light and humidity. Okay, so this room is pretty amazing. It's brick, which keeps it cool. It's got one big window, and so I've got blinds on the window that black out, and then I also put a wooden screen across it, and then I've got a dresser with a cubicle thing on top of that. So the light in here is very dim. Actually, it's pitch black when I don't have the window open, and right now I've got everything scooted over and the window open so that you can see me here in this room. I do not like the overhead lights. They are rarely on because they're so harsh. So this room is quite dark all the time, but I love this room. It's peaceful and quiet, and with the herbs in here, it smells so good. Like people walk in and they're like, I love watching people's faces when they walk into my apothecary. It's just amazing. So I have over 100 herbs, and I make up custom blends and things for people. So that's what this room is all about. That's a little bit about storing herbs, in case you were wondering, hey, there's light in the room here and what's going on. So that's all. I hope you enjoyed this little chat about evergreens, and again, I'm Heidi Villegas with Healing Harvest Homestead, and I am signing off. I'll talk to you in the next video. Bye-bye.